Hey guys, it's Nick with Gutter Freedom. So I get this question a lot. Would you recommend vinyl soffit or aluminum soffit? Well, there's a wide debate on this, and I think both are excellent products. They have their applications. Normally, they cost pretty much the same. They're very much in the ballpark. There's not a huge difference. The big determining factor for me is the application. But with that being said, vinyl has taken leaps and bounds forward, getting better, stronger, more viable. It comes in a ton of colors, and it seems to be, working its way to being the superior product. Now, on the back, it gives you all the details, all the things about it. But one of the big things that I really like is they've added basically a technology to help get away from UV damage and to keep it more flexible. That's awesome, because if it gets brittle, it can crack. Now, aluminum never really cracks or fades in the sense of it's not going to change its shape, it's not going to distort. But the paint on it can fade, can crack, can come off, and normally it's a little bit easier to paint aluminum. Where like these guys, these colors, you're not repainting this. If you do, it's going to look really weird, and if you paint over this, you're probably going to close up a lot of the venting. That's why I don't normally recommend ever painting over any soffit, but if you have to, aluminum normally holds the paint much better, or you could put a primer coating on it and do it. Now, will vinyl hold paint? Absolutely, but because it can flex, like if you can see, I can bend this, it's bendable. Normally, if it bends and moves, it's going to expand and contract. It's on the side of your house, so it can get very hot. If you paint it, it's going to affect how well it expands and contracts and could lead to distortion problems or no airflow. So for most of the applications, I think that the aluminum would be better if you plan on painting it or changing the home, or you live in a very, very hot environment. With that being said though, we've installed a lot of vinyl here in Florida and we've had no issues with it. It just comes down to the homeowner's personal preference and what they're trying to do with it. The big limitation for vinyl normally is not only the colors, but what is the purpose of it? Meaning, do you need maximum ventilation? Do you need it to look a certain way? Are you going to, have to fix the roof? Things like that all result in what product you should use. Now, with that being said, aluminum normally is harder to work with because if you bend it, you go like this and you bend it up, it stays bent. So you have to be much more careful with aluminum than you do with the vinyl. But it's a give and a take. It also, I think the vinyl normally is a little bit thicker material than the aluminum. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. And I think that thickness gives it a little extra strength, but it doesn't add a ton of weight. So it's a bit of a toss-up. It's personal preference for most. Most of the manufacturers nowadays will recommend the vinyl. Whether it's more sustainable or it's easier for them to make, I have no idea. Cost-wise is about the same, but I think that it comes down to the application and what the person's trying to do. If you said to me, hey Nick, I live in a very hot environment, there's a ton of wind, I might recommend vinyl, mainly because if there's a ton of wind, it's gonna be getting hit a lot underneath, where the soffit is. So you want something that's a little more flexible and it's not gonna get dent up or damaged from high winds. If you said, hey Nick, I live in a super hot environment, like I'm out in the desert, I'd probably recommend the aluminum because then you don't have to worry about heat distortion. Expanding, contracting may not be as big a deal because that aluminum is gonna expand way less than that vinyl, just from the hardness and the density of the material. Now, will they both change? Absolutely, they both will experience expansion and contraction. The newer vinyls normally don't experience hardly any expansion and contraction, or it's at a very high temperature. So, like I said, I see a case for both. I normally recommend whatever is your preference. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're looking for a very particular style, it may only be in one or the other, meaning it may only be vinyl or it may only be aluminum that you can get the venting or the pattern or the style that you want. If that's the case, then you have to go with whatever material has the look that you're going for. So you really can't lose. It just comes down to what's your preference and what you're trying to do with it.